Hello Jamf admins. Today I'm going to show you how to set up account-driven enrollment for your Jamf Pro server. We're doing this so that we can enroll our Apple Vision Pro into Jamf Pro. However, it's not needed for this tutorial, and this can also be useful if you're enrolling iPhones, iPads, or Mac computers into Jamf Pro, especially if they're not an Apple Business Manager. So let's get started. In order to set up account-driven enrollment in your Jamf Pro server, there's a couple of things you're going to need in place. First off, you're going to need an Apple Business or School Manager account. So if you haven't gone through the process of setting that up yet, that's going to take a little while. You're also going to need admin access for a lot of things we're doing. So if you don't have admin access yet, you probably need to get that. Number two, domain verification for your domain needs to be done through Apple Business Manager. If you have not done that yet, you'll need access to your domain name's DNS settings in order to do that. And then number three, you're going to need to set up a well-known URL. In order to do that, you're going to need access to your web hosting's files so you can drop a specific JSON file in a specific location. So I will say a lot of these requirements are kind of hard for us IT admins. Obviously, most of us have access to Jamf Pro and Apple Business Manager, so that's not a problem. But our department doesn't really deal with the website side of stuff. Usually it's the marketing department that deals with that, or a different development team. So you're probably going to need to work with several teams in order to get started on this process. That's usually the big roadblock we're working through. So in this video, we're going to show you how to set this up in our web hosting service, which is Bluehost. But I will say even some web hosting services that we've worked with, like for instance, rocketman.tech is set up inside of Wix, and Wix doesn't really offer us to put files in specific locations. So although we're able to verify our domain, we're not able to drop that well-known URL anywhere. So we need a workaround for that. So we're going to use some other domain names that we've purchased for other reasons, just as redirects or emails or things like that, to set up this account-driven enrollment. So this is going to be a big roadblock for a lot of people, but this video will just show you kind of the process that you go through in order to set this up if you do have access to your hosting service. However, every hosting service is going to be a little bit different, so we'll show you how to do this in Bluehost. But if you have a different hosting service or you're hosting your own website yourself, it's going to look a lot different. So just be aware of that. But let's get started. So the first thing we're going to show you is how to associate your domain name with Apple Business Manager. So let's head over to here. So the first thing we're going to do is verify our domain name with Apple Business Manager. So let's go into Apple Business Manager and then click on Preferences under your name and go to Managed Apple IDs. So I've already verified two domains here, so I'm going to do a different one to show you how this looks like. So the main domain we're going to add is lc39a.tech. Once it's created, go to Verify. It'll give you instructions on how to do this, very small instructions, but just the basic that you need to add a TXT record to your domain registrar's DNS settings. So let's go ahead and click on this to copy this text and go to Verify. Or sorry, we don't click Verify yet because we actually need to go in there and then we will click Verify. So let's go into Bluehost. This is where our domains are located. We're going to go into Domains. Find the domain lc39a.tech, and then scroll down to the bottom, Advanced Tools. Make sure your name savers are pointed to this domain, to this hosting service, which is Bluehost, because if they're pointed to a different hosting service, this isn't going to work. But let's then go to Advanced DNS Records and go to Manage. And then we are going to scroll down to TXT and then go to bulk edit so we can add something. Now, when we first try to do this, a little word of caution. one of our developers who was doing it tried to do this, which seems pretty logical, but this is not correct. So I'm not going to try to explain what that's doing because I don't really fully understand DNS. But what we need to do is we need to do @ and then we're going to go back here, copy this code, and then put that entire code here. That's what Apple is looking for. And then we'll go to continue. It will tell you that it's going to take up to 24 hours to update throughout the internet. Hopefully that's not the case, but we're going to go ahead and click save, and it's going to give me another warning just saying it may take 24 to 48 hours for the DNS changes to update throughout the internet. Now we're going to double check to see if those are in place. So first of all, I'm just going to check my portal in Bluehost to make sure it's propagating those changes, because right now I don't see them. And there it is. So that's the entry we just made. I'm going to show you another website that will allow you to check this. So there's going to be a link in the resources to a blog post that has links to all these different resources that we're going to be using, as well as additional instructional documents on this. But just go to this website and just search for your domain, lc39a.tech. And it will show you if this is propagated. Now the one of course the domain is going to be propagated, but what we're looking for is this across the board. And as I can see, it looks like it's propagated everywhere already. And what I care about right now is Brazil, because I'm in Brazil right now. So we can see that that is propagated. So I have a suspicion that once I click verify, this is going to work. And now it's been verified. So now we're able to create managed Apple IDs using this domain. So let's go ahead and create a user here. I'm going to click add. First name, we'll just say account driven enrollment test. And we'll just call it ADE for account driven enrollment at rocketman.tech. We'll make them a staff. We don't need to give them any extra permissions. Staff will just allow them to log in with a managed Apple ID. And we do have to put an email here. Now this is not an active email, so I'm going to put my email. But we don't really need to use this email for anything, because since we're in Apple Business Manager, we can just set up the account ourselves. I'm going to put him in this location because this is the server we're logging into, although I don't think it matters. So the next thing we have to do is log in with our Apple ID. So, and actually we have to create a sign-in first. So I'm going to create a sign-in. I'm just going to create a CSV so we don't have to open our email. So it actually gives me my temporary password here, so I don't even need to open the CSV or download it. I'm just going to copy that password. And now we're going to go to appleid.apple.com. And actually, since I'm already logged in with an Apple ID, let's open up a private window and go through this process. Now it's going to have me set up two-factor authentication. Need to get a verification code. And now it's going to need me to create a new password. Great, so I've gone ahead and signed in, set up two-factor authentication, and I have set up a new secure password. So we're going to close out of here. So the next step is going to be setting up the well-known URL so that Apple knows where to redirect this device once it goes to log in through account-driven user enrollment. So we'll need to go back to our hosting service to do this. So here I'm going to go to hosting. I need to scroll down and go to the file manager in order to do this. And we're going to need to drop this file somewhere. In order to know where to drop it, though, let's go to the C panel, and then we're going to go to domains. I'm going to need to look up this domain to see where it is redirected. We want to manage it. So there is a, it's in lc39a.tech. So that's simple. So let me go to my file manager. It's going to be in public HTML, and then lc39a.tech -tech here. Okay. There's already this well-known folder here. So we're just going to open that folder, and then we are going to drop a file inside of here. So let's go back to the documentation from Jamf to take a look at how we're supposed to do this. So we're going to create a JSON file that looks like this. Now the only thing we need to replace is our Jamf Pro URL here. And there's two different types of enrollment we can do. There's account-driven device enrollment, and there's also account-driven user enrollment. What are the difference between these two? Account-driven device enrollment is for doing full management of the device. So this is an institutionally managed device, whereas account-driven user enrollment is BYOD. So this is a device with limited capabilities. Typically, it's not owned by the organization. So account-driven device enrollment, owned by the organization. Account-driven user enrollment, owned by the user. You can set up some logic to put certain devices into certain groups based on some type of spreadsheet or something like that. We're not going to go over this in this tutorial. I'm just going to set up all the devices that go through here for LC39A specifically for account-driven device enrollment. You could also set up two different domains if you wanted to do that. That might work too. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. But we're just going to go ahead and set it up for this and show you what this process looks like. So I'm going to copy this text, and then I'm going to go into Code Runner, which is our text editor. We're going to drop this in here. Now, like I said, the only thing we need to do here is do rocketmen.jamfcloud.com. So we drop in our URL here, and then we're going to go to save. I'm just going to, now we need to give this a name. Let me go ahead and call this com.apple.remote management. We're going to update this to .wellknown. Now let me just make sure that this is .wellknown. It is. So I just need to add it to here. So use the upload button, com.apple.remote management. So there we go. We've got the file here. Now in order to verify that this is working, we're going to go into terminal. Now let's go back to this document. It'll show you how to check this. We're going to do curl-i, mycompany.com, well-known, com.apple.remote management. So let's do that. But let's replace mycompany.com with lc39a.tech. So we can see that this is here. However, I'm going to say that this is missing something. This is missing this content type application JSON, right? I can also verify this by going here to this URL, and let's take a look. So it is showing here. The problem is, however, that this is just showing in plain text. It's not showing as JSON. So again, it should be popping up like this when we go into terminal. And this is a point where I need to be honest with you, and I don't currently know how to set this up because when we did it for the other domains, I had one of our developers do it, and he knows a lot more about web development than I do. So we're going to cut to either a future version of myself that's more knowledgeable in this subject matter, or someone else at our company that has more experience with this type of setup. Thank you, less informed version of myself. What we need to do is create an htaccess file that forces Apache, the HTTP service used by Bluehost, to treat that file like a JSON file. Let's take a look at how to do that. So right here, I have my htaccess file. I'm going to open that up in a text editor. So I need some XML that says files com.apple.remote management. That's the file that we set before, which directs it to our Jamf Cloud server to force type application JSON. Pretty simple. What we're going to do is upload this to the same folder that our com.apple.remote management file is in. So let's go back to our Bluehost panel, and we have this here. Here's our com.apple.remote management folder. This is in our well-known folder inside of here. So let's go ahead and upload that file. Cool, and once that's uploaded, we'll just go back to that folder. And now one thing I need to do is add a dot before it. I couldn't do that before, but now this is good to go. So if I go to terminal and we run that curl command again, we'll see that it says content type application JSON. All right, past less informed self, I'll send it back to you to finish up the rest of the tutorial. Thanks so much for that explanation. Now, because I don't have this set up currently, that's the future version of myself, we're going to be using an example that we've already set up with another one of our domains, mainly rocketmen.tech. We've verified our domain, we've set up a managed Apple ID, we've created this well-known URL. Last thing we need to do inside of here is go into Jamf Pro and enable account-driven enrollment. So let's go to Settings and then go to User-Initiated Enrollment. And then we're going to go to Edit, and then we're going to go to Devices. Now these settings right now are enabled for me, but this is what, I don't think any of these are enabled at the beginning. So we'll need to enable all of these if we want to. So first, profile-driven enrollment. This is enabled by default. Account-driven user enrollment. This we don't need to enable for our example, but you can enable it if you want to. And then account-driven device enrollment. This is what we need to enable for the example that we've set up together. Now in our case, we aren't using a directory user. However, if you are using federated Apple IDs or anything like that, you'll need to turn on account-driven enrollment here as well for that enrollment to work. So I'll just go ahead and turn that on. Okay, so now we have everything we need in place in order to enroll this computer. So in order to test this out, you can go on your computer, go to System Settings, and then go to Profiles. And you should see a box up here that asks you to sign in with your Apple School or Apple Business Manager account in order to enroll the computer. However, if it is currently managed by an MDM, you're not going to see that. So what we need to do first is remove the management. Since this was enrolled through Apple Business Manager, I believe I'm going to have to do it through my Jamf portal. So we'll go ahead and remove management from my device just for this example. Go to Management and then go to Unenroll. And I'll go back into Settings. And we see that those profiles have been removed, and now I have this work or school account sign in. So let's take a look at this. Now I need to sign in with my work or school account. That's going to be that managed Apple ID that we set up. Now, like I said before, because now I'm just going to show you what this will look like if this is not set up correctly so you can see it. So we have ADE lc39a.tech, but since I haven't set up that well-known URL with the proper JSON, this isn't going to work. So it'll take me to the screen to sign in with my managed Apple ID. And then you'll see this. Your Apple ID does not support the expected services on this device. Contact your administrator to sign in. Okay. So that's how it looks like if you haven't set up that well-known URL properly. But let's say we did set it up properly. What does it look like? Well, now we're going to do chris@rocketmen.tech. And right from here, this looks different, right? Now it tells me I need to open a browser. And that's because I need to sign in with my Okta account because we have Okta set up for our server. Now I will note I wasn't able to set up to verify the domain with, well, I verified the domain, but I wasn't able to set up the well-known URL with our main website, rocketman.tech. We'll do that in the future, but I just wanted to get this example going. So I'm actually signing in with Okta with a different account than my managed Apple ID. Cool. Now it's going to ask iCloud for work. I do need to click sign in. If I click cancel, this enrollment will not work. So now it's asking me for my other one, chris@rocketmen.tech. Paste this password into here. And now it's asking me allow remote management. I'm going to click allow. Now it's asking me for my computer password. So lots of steps the user has to go through when setting this up. Definitely makes it easier if you've federated the account. So at least those first two passwords are the same. But your computer password's probably also going to be different anyway. So is this process easier than the old URL enrollment way of doing it? Not really, but it is baked in and they don't need to go to any URL. And when it comes down to it, I'm pretty sure that URL enrollment version of this is probably going to get taken away at some point. So it's going to be important to go through this process anyway. So yeah, that's setting up account-driven in Jamf Pro. If you have an Apple Vision Pro, you're able to enroll it using this method now. But it's also, like I said, useful if you want to enroll iPhones, iPads, or Mac computers. We should be doing this in all of our servers, really, because if there's a device that's not in Apple Business Manager, this is going to be the preferred method of enrolling computers in Jamf Pro moving forward. So that's it for setting up account-driven enrollment in Jamf Pro. Thank you so much for watching. Drop a comment if I messed anything up in this video, which I think is pretty likely because all of the web stuff is a little outside of my wheelhouse. And as always, keep being great Jamf admins.